Beautiful.
Look at
that.
That looks really nice. That's a nice dork you got there, Haruf.
Thank you, sir.
It's pretty good one. Very elegant. Is TD in the crowd? Yes, he is. Yeah, so TD, you're in like you're in a row. This is kind of like a theater where those on the stage are basically talking at you. And you're in a row, but you can whisper to people in the same row as you if you press and hold down a button. And there's also a microphone that you can use. And if you go into the microphone spot, you can then speak, and everyone can hit you.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to TD. You need to explain.
Oh, this is the first time TD's in here. Amazing.
Yeah, he's finally made it.
But also, we thought we were just talking to each other because there wasn't a hold to whisper button, and luckily I was on my best behavior, and so was Benny, so we didn't have a problem.
Good job. I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah, we'll see if that remains true come Denver.
It's some nice braids, Shanti. A new hairstyle.
I went to sleep like this. One more minute and then we can get started.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds perfect.
Is everyone in the audience going to ETH Denver?
Obviously. At least in spirit.
Oh, I can see TD's backstage.
Get out of here, TD. What are you doing? Get back in the crowd.
It looked like it was at an airport. I mean, it's fine.
Okay, let's get started.
Are we ready? Is Cody recording? Did he start?
Yes, Cody has been recording for the last couple of minutes.
Oh, well, hello, YouTube.
Okay.
Smash that like button and share, or wait, subscribe and like, please.
Welcome, everyone. I actually think today is the last meeting before ETH Denver, right? Because you're leaving. Our team is leaving on the 28th, right?
Smash.
So yeah, so this is the last meeting before that. I'm sure Chris has a lot to talk about, but we will jump right into it. Chris.
That doesn't sound like me. I usually don't have a lot to talk about. While they're nice shirts, repping the headline crypto, nice.
I had to make a quick wardrobe change. I almost wore a black collared shirt here and not a fill shirt. So yeah, they given me a lot of nice shirts from the South by Southwest trip.
Is that bribery for doing the DD?
I think it's just on maybe on brand's the wrong term here, but it's very relevant to today's discussion. If we have D13 with us.
Amazing. All right. So how's the everybody in the crowd going? Can I get some happy faces and definitely not tomatoes? Yeah, there we go. Lots of you guys awake, having a good time. As always, if you are welcome to come up here and say hi. That's to you as well, TD. But I know that you like to be anon, so be careful when you do come up here. I mean, people might figure out that you're really a dragon. But let's go ahead and kick this off. So my favorite part of the week, Benny, yours too, or?
It is. It's my favorite. It's my favorite day, Wednesdays, because we have governance and there's health rewards as well. It's a double whammy.
Double whammy. This is where all the decisions happen. This is where the people that represent the community. There was actually a great question by web dev about like, do the governors represent themselves or the community? And I thought, shame on the governors for anybody even asking that question. You should be going deep into the community and be like, I am your people. But But yes, you are the representation of the overall community. It's just that you can't really. You are the ones that actually have said that they'll spend more time and the effort to help make the decisions. Because why, Wilder? Why is that important?
Because we need to be on the council, the embodiment of the community. We can't act with integrity if we are being self-serving. Yes, the people on the council are part of the community, but we need to represent the community over ourselves at all times.
Correct. But as we all know, we're trying to do this in a decentralized way. We're doing this in a way that's as decentralized as possible, and with always striving to be more decentralized. But that's hard because when you do things in a decentralized way, there's no hierarchy, right? As much as we're all afraid of Shanti, we don't have to do what she says. But how do we have an identity? How do we have guidance if there is no hierarchy? Benny, do you have an idea?
Sorry, how do we have hierarchy if there is no?
How do we have guidance without a hierarchy?
Got you. Whew. Suppose it'd be from creating the right institutions and structures to be able to actually execute on the strategy.
Or values. Real close.
That's like a subset of that. A bit more higher level here. The institution, a bit of a precursor.
Yes, you failed, Benny. Gosh. But yes, values. The 4 values of Voy that really guide what we do. We call it Shanti. What are the 4 values of Voy?
Integrity, geeky, right? Goodwill, integrity, collaboration, and oh no.
INT.
Intention.
Intelligence, intentionality.
No,
Intentionality.
intentionality. We definitely don't have intelligence, but intentionality is actually the 4. So, when we do things, when we as the core team, when as the governance team, the community in general, when we shouldn't be police, there shouldn't be a police saying, oh, do this or that. We should actually embody these values, and we should all keep an eye on each other to make sure that we do represent these values. And as always, what I like to do is every week, I missed last week, so I asked Benny to do it last week, but to point out a community member that really shows one of these values. And I encourage all of you, when you see a community member really representing one of these values, reward them. Say thank you at the very least. Say, I see you for doing what it is. And this week, I want to actually focus on intentionality. Why is intentionality a very important value? Is because we're small. We have a group of 12 people here, the core team. We're only at 6 core team members. When we're trying to do a movement that's going to span millions of people, we have a limited amount of resources. So one of the things about intentionality is actually making sure that we are all swimming in the same direction, making sure that we are not just building things for fun. I mean, it sure is fun to build things that are great, or do things because you're bored, but we really don't have the luxury to do that all the time. And that's why being intentional with your actions. I believe the first person that I talked about with intentionality was Zarmian for when he decided to take the bullet and build an NFT indexer, and that already has saved hours and hours of development for multiple other developers, and it's huge that they did it. But it's not just developers being intentional; it's actually very good for community members or community leads to be intentional as well. And this week, I'd like to call out Yusuf. Yusuf is the community lead for Turkey. Why is he's intentional? Is because he is intentionally focusing on a single area of our community, and putting in effort to grow it, spread the word, and really kind of just be Voy Turkey. And he's done an absolutely amazing job. So much so, Turkey is the largest user of Voy. you might find that hard to believe, but it is, and that's actually by a lot. We have tremendous, amazing Turkish community members that really care, that put the effort in. We have everybody from, members of the Dork community are from Turkey. We have relay runners that are doing from Turkey. We have participation nodes, and this is really, honestly, I believe because of Yusuf, really focusing, being intentional with what he's doing, and really making sure that we have great representation in Turkey. So next time you get bored, or if you want to go sneak into the Turkish channel, see how active it is, and tell Yusuf thank you. I'm going to say thank you, but I'm going to throw him a 50K of VIA as an added bonus. So Yusuf, if you are watching this, thank you so much. You are actually a great member of our community, and I hope more people do the same thing as you are. So thank you so much for that. But that's mainly the overall message I'd like to actually put through, and just overall, thank you so much for everybody out there. You really are the governance team is really embodying these values, and the community in general is as well. And that really is, I believe, why we are as successful as we are. One of the things that's Bill was in the meeting with me, and it was a little bit of a heated meeting. I was talking to somebody, a centralized exchange, and we were talking about the potential of Voy and getting listing and everything of that sort. And he kind of started oh, we need to make sure that there's traction. And I got a little bit heated. I said to him, point to one chain that beats Voy on any category. Number of nodes, number of active wallets, number of, the NFT collections, number of developers building on testnet. Point to one. And they couldn't do it. And that's really to show you how much of a difference we are making already. And it's because of you guys. It's because we're actually making a difference. So thank you so much for that. You give me the ammo to throw at people when they're acting a fool. So thank you for that. But overall, that's about it for me. One of the things I would probably talk at the end, if there's more time, is I threw out there a potential idea of how I'd like to change governance, Wilder. So I don't know if there's time at the end for me to talk about that, but if not, I can wait probably until next week or so.
Just right now, IRL, myself and D13 have due diligence for headline, but
Beautiful.
D13 is not on the call right now. So if you wouldn't mind maybe speaking about that a little bit now and give him some more time to join.
We're pulling an audible.
A little bit. I'll take the responsibility on this one. I didn't get my ducks in a row to ensure D13 would actually be on the call.
Shame on you. Nice integrity though, Wilder. Nice integrity. So what I threw out there and would love for you to actually think about a little bit is right now every governor has one vote, and one governor, one vote. And I feel like there's actually the community itself doesn't have a say in things as well. So this is something that I've been actually thinking a lot about for mainnet, is how do we make sure that the community feels that they have sway over how our votes happen. And this is something I was thinking about. We'd probably wait until mainnet to implement, but I think that we have the ability to actually expedite this a little bit. And what this is doing is allowing for the community to delegate their voting power to one of the governance committee members. How this would work is when they register their keys, providing the nodes, their voting power, the individual voting power, is based off of how much Voy they are staking to protect the consensus. When they do register their keys, what they'll do is they'll choose one of you, one of the delegates here in the committee. And now, then going forward, every time that you have a vote, you no longer have one vote. You have an amount of votes based off of people delegate to you. If for some reason nobody actually delegates to you, that means you no longer have a vote. So what this means is that you are now truly representing the people that are delegating to you. The way I would actually see this is that, you know, you would most likely have a dedicated channel, so that's the people that are delegating to you can have open conversation with you, and you can truly represent the community. One of the things that we'd probably do is do like logarithmic voting, so that there's not all of a sudden a whale that makes every decision. But at the same time, there is, you know, the more people that delegate to an individual, they will be able to get more and more power, but not so much so that they make all the decisions. But I think this is actually something that is really good, and it should be good for decentralization, and also really kind of incentivize you to listen to your community, to make sure that when you are voting, you are actually representing the stake that people are delegating to you. This is, of course, early thinking, and I think it's really exciting. But would love to hear your thoughts and see where that goes.
My well, B13 messaged me. He's trying to get a guest link to join, so here he is.
If anybody wants to come up and the mic and give or come on stage IRL, you can.
Just to speak on that idea, I do think that's an excellent move, and a lot of the potential, a lot of the ways that the council can be viewed right now is that they were handpicked by the core team, and I think giving the community more power in this sense makes the most sense, and I think this is a great step forward.
And I really like making it so that it's VOI only, and it's VOI that is actually staked on the network is like what your vote is. Hi, Earl.
Hello, how are you?
I'm living the dream.
Same. I think that's really interesting, Chris. I can't wait to hear more about it.
Cool. Lobo, you got a question? Your thoughts?
My first thought is immediately like, honestly, how to break it. And to break it is like, okay, what if we have protocols like LSTs, for example, and you have like the protocol owner is a council member and gets automatically all votes of those LSTs. That would kind of be like, it would be bad. So we would kind of end up with other councils where like only project owners are on the council and have like all the power. So how would we
Why?
deal with that?
What do you mean? So, like, number one, you have,
I mean,
you know,
for example, if Fox Finance on Algorand, and there would be something like this, everybody who mints G-Algo would give their power, in some sense, to Fox Finance. That would be kind of bad. So how do we deal with it?
not when you have if you have logarithmic, like where it's like, you know, a big whale comes in and gives you all to Fox Finance. If you actually make it so that it evens out the more that it puts in, so it's, you know, it doesn't make it an automatic whale. I don't really see a big issue with that. And the truth is that the Fox Finance can, you know, people can decide if they put it in Fox Finance or not. So that the people putting it in there, like, wait a second, I don't want to do that. I want you to do X, Y, Z. And the other thing too, like, say Fox Finance allows you to actually take your G-Algo and stake it on your own node anyway. So when you do register the stake, you would just register individually, even though it would be in Fox Finance. So yes, somebody could build a app where that they receive all the power and then they stake on a single node. But honestly, that's not good for the network anyway, because all of the actual VOI on a single node would be bad for the actual decentralization in general.
I think it'd be great if when you staked on a node, you got SVOI, and then that's what you use in DeFi. That way you keep your voting power.
I mean, you could do that, but the issue is that I think that, yes, there's lots of ways that you do it, and there's probably ways that you could prevent gaming, but there's not there's not like as Jay, I'm surprised Jay's not popped up here. It's like if you the best way to actually prevent gaming is setting the incentives away that you're okay with people gaming it.
Just to pitch in, like I think delegation's really interesting overall. It always piques my interest when we talk about delegated voting. I think like for me anyways, things that I would like really pay attention to in order to support something would be like how easy is it for a user to change who they're delegating and how quickly can that be done, and like things like that empower the people so that your hands don't get tied essentially. Then the other
Yeah,
thing I
so-
might consider would be like because it relates to popularity contests, right? So in the beginning, that might be harder to do in a smaller network where if you can't delegate like on a spread, you might get to the point where essentially one council member has so many delegated votes, it doesn't matter if anyone else votes. You know what I mean? So
But that
it's-
once
I
again,
don't know.
that's why you have the whale prevention, so that if all of your votes go to one person, they get less and less power, relatively to the amount of tokens you put in there.
But what about separate people delegating? So if I get like the 3 biggest wallets,
It's still like
Yeah.
it's the logarithmic voting power is on the actual delegate itself, not the putting in. So like if like the 4 largest ones all put in, like it's the total is on the individual, and this is why there's Sybil attack prevention as well. So that's because one of the big problems with this type of thing is like, oh well, I'll just divide it in multiple wallets. But the thing is, like, if we put the logarithm on the on you guys, that goes away because you're all not KYC, but you're all a known individual. And as far as actually the plan would be eventually in mainnet, we wouldn't do it right here, is that there would be periods of time where you can actually stake onto a certain delegate with the ability to rage quit, meaning that you'd be able to pull your stake away from an individual if they vote in a way, but there would be some type of penalty for that. But that will definitely not come during testnet because it's make sure that you get it right. But like for testnet would be like the first step of like, let's do delegates rather than just everybody has one vote.
Maybe a final comment on this before we go into due diligence is I also think this could be an opportunity to lay out a better path for someone to join the council who might not be on the council. So just something that I've definitely noticed is the way for people to get on the council isn't necessarily easy to see right now. And I think that would be something we could also lay out as well, where great community members would have an opportunity to join the council without having to go through a council vote.
I love the sentiment there. Let's reserve that for mainnet. I think that's like we only have a few months left. Like getting somebody up and going at like, this is who you got, like them or not. Put your stake behind the people you really do like.
I think we can start our headline due diligence. Would you like to kick it off, IRL, or should I go first?
I can kick it off, sure. And then you can fill it in. Let's get a link here for everybody.
Nice Rand merch, by the way.
Thanks. I'm jealous that Headline gave you a shirt and I did not get it. I want a shirt. Open call for swag. I'm in video meetings all the time and could totally. This is a nice Adidas pullover I got from Rand. Appreciate it. Okay, so I did post the DD document. And then within the DD document, there are links to the proposal itself, the responses. There should be everything you need kind of inside of that. So we reviewed the headline X ballot proposal. I feel like it is not the same proposal that you looked at first round eval. So I feel like that's kind of the first thing that I would like to draw everyone's attention to. The testnet token quantity now being requested is 55 million, whereas the original request I think was 250. The scope And that's kind of my takeaway jumping to the end. The scope of the proposal is really kind of been skimmed down. So specifically, they are talking about integrating ARC 200 and ARC 72 into XBallot when they launch on testnet. Having that integration and then providing the source code. The proposal specs, they anticipate taking 2 to 3 weeks to complete. And in the process of kind of reviewing, and this is an interesting DD to do, because it changed so much from beginning to end, and almost like each week there were like minor changes, and somehow like all those little minor changes ended up being kind of this completely different proposal that we see, that again really only applies to the ARC integrations, both the ARC 72 and the ARC 200 integrations, and then providing the source code for that. So in a lot of people's responses, and I can say these responses were gone over multiple times with the headline team, like it was really hammered home. And I, in my notes at the end, and why I think that, you know, some of my insight might be noteworthy was the willingness and determination to collaborate based on the challenging feedback. It was not easy, to say the least, but some of the feedback that I thought warranted kind of setting the record straight, and we did ask the team to clarify some of those items on the proposal. Feedback that we constantly got was, well, it's not really adopted well on Algorand. Initially, when the proposal was larger in scope, and they were looking for those testnet tokens to launch the XBallot on Void testnet, they wanted to see the usage, right? And we wanted to change those metrics to align. And there was a version of that proposal that was put together. But in this proposal that they were drawing a vote on, and I believe the vote will be opening later today, it is it's skimmed down and really is only requesting tokens for those ARC integrations on the platform. I think that was noteworthy, was that they said it was only a demo on Algorand. XBallot is not live on Algorand, it's just a demo. So that was really kind of just like misleading and led to a lot of comments like, well, nobody really uses it on Algorand. Why? Well, you can't really use it on Algorand yet, to my understanding. So things like that were cleaned up as well. There were a lot of comments about the token quantity being requested. Again, that was addressed. And then just thinking it was a lot of tokens. So beyond that, I think the two things that made me be willing to endorse this is that they did completely change the document. We're talking about a different scope. Although presenting this proposal and taking a final vote is contrary to my personal recommendation I provided with headline after completion of the DD. My recommendation was to withdraw the original and subsequent edits of the proposal and reapply once launched for like retroactive funding. I really felt like that was the path to get the most success. It was based on, like I said, the previous versions that we had seen, the perceived levels of support and enthusiasm for the proposal, both in the Discord comments, the first round email feedback, and the discussions that we had here in our weekly meetings. It was really difficult communicating effectively and conducting the due diligence the way it was set up. So, you know, regardless of whether or not they took my personal recommendation, I am endorsing passing it with its current scope and token quantity, I guess, to get to the heart of it. If you continue to scroll down, Wilder went in immense detail and really like demanded answers to a lot of these questions that I was like, well, if it's changing, we don't really need to hammer it home, kind of, if that's not being addressed specifically. So I'll hand it off to you, Wilder, but definitely I will be available if people have questions for my portion of this DD.
Thank you. And I'd like to, first of all, just explain that we took, I think, three due diligence meetings, if I'm remembering correctly. Four outside
I
of
was
the
at
one.
4. I don't know how many you did on the side because
sure.
you
So-
had a
so
lot more contact time, but
I had
yeah.
5. IRL had 4, and I think the 3 of us had 2 together. Certainly was a difficult process as IRL laid out. There was a lot of going back and forth, and Headline was very committed to getting this to a vote. Failure was not an option for them. At the same time that IRL thought they should remove the proposal. I had that belief at that time, and after discussing with them and seeing their rewrites, my mind was changed, seeing how far they came down. But I did express to them that the way they were interacting with the first evaluation comments and the way they were going through the document was putting too much burden on the people doing due diligence. And for proposers watching this, please look at the first eval comments. They are public, they're put at the bottom of your proposals, and this is directly what the council is saying about your specific proposal. So you need to look at those just as much as we are going to bring them to you. It's important that you have that context as well, and not be caught off guard, or not maybe understand where they're coming from. We're trying to represent the whole council when we bring these comments, and you need to be paying attention not only in the Google Doc, but also in the Discord channel.
I think it's important to note just on top of that, Wilder, that when we're looking at these, I mean, for me personally, I don't just think about how I would vote, right? Like, it's very apparent. It's not just what one person thinks. So in this case, like, you can see value and not see a path for a passing vote, right? Was where I was at personally anyways with that. So it was a really interesting learning process. I appreciate that.
That being said, I want to now dive in a bit more into what ARC 200 and what ARC 272 support means, and I think more importantly, and I would love D13 to add comments on this afterwards, about open sourcing and what actually XBallot is versus what it was presented as in their first proposals. So,
would you like to?
Yeah.
Would you like to start with what exactly this is actually? Because I think this will add a lot more context to how ARC 272 will also be utilized. And to me, it was quite important to make a distinction here. So XBallot is presented as DAO management tools, and in broad strokes, I guess that it would qualify. But to me, it doesn't, because it cannot facilitate the A in DAO, which is autonomy, right? So XBallot, as it currently stands, has more in common with Algorand Foundation style governance than an autonomous DAO such as Updog was. Sorry about that. So they basically record votes on chain, and then they tabulate them off chain using an indexer. This also means that you can't use XBallot to trustlessly manage a treasury. So it's more of a system to record decisions on chain than to actually run a DAO autonomously. There can still be value in this for Voi, but it's more about the social features than, strictly speaking, providing DAO, a full-on DAO. That was quite surprising to me, because I couldn't figure that out from the documentation at all, and it does, I think, change the nature of the proposal quite a lot. And so, Wilder, if you want, you can take it away and say how ARC 272 are going to be utilized here. Or
Real quick, D13, can you say back to me how they were explaining the difference between having something open sourced and making the code available?
Right.
Do you remember? Can you highlight it's a little beyond over my head.
I believe they mentioned that they open source as a transparency for themselves, rather than it being meant to be reproduced and run by other people. with respect to the infrastructure, I asked if all of the pieces are there in the repos, and they mentioned that while yes, there are. It would they kind of said something like good luck to anyone trying to set it up, in the sense that there's a lot of configuration that might not be documented, or like many moving pieces. So one of my points was to make sure that at least on a high level, like reproduction and deployment documentation is added in case someone else is tries to run this, and their response was sure, but that's not our intent for other people to run it. I believe that's accurate. You guys were in the meeting as well, right?
Yeah,
I-
and that was just an interesting like caveat as a non-dev. When I hear open sourcing, I assume that's all the stuff you would need if you were a dev to like use it, right? So that was just kind of an interesting discovery during one of these due diligence meetings that we had, where it just made me aware, and I kind of needed D13 to explain to me like what that really meant between making the source code available and open sourcing something, and just that kind of nuance there that was not necessarily apparent to me without having D13 on the team to ask that question. So I just wanted to highlight that. Sorry, go ahead on the ARCs.
Henrik, if you want to jump in before I continue.
Sure, thank you. Just a quick comment on open source. There's many different licenses that are available that people can use. There's some that are typically approved as open source licenses from the Open Source Initiative. And you can also have open source licenses where it's public, but you're not allowed to use it commercially, and where or if you use it, then you might have to contribute back, or you don't have to contribute back. Algorand is an example. The AVM is an interesting example of some of those things where there's some nuance on how other people might be able to use it, and how they have to distribute the source code and commit back. I'm certainly happy if anyone wants to talk open source. I spent way too much time thinking about licenses, but certainly have some thoughts about how we can, as a community, make it a little bit more clear about what it means if you at least to get a bounty, and what could make sense there. Because again, I could make a Henrik open source license that makes it so that you can read it, but you're not allowed to use it for pretty much anything, right? And that, I think, goes against what we all want.
Excellent.
Anyone
It's a-
work on that? I'm happy to.
I think that would be greatly appreciated if you could lend your expertise there. I think that
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense to include more definitions around this. And this leads me into part of the rewrite and what was made extremely clear under the success and the approach they are going to take to open sourcing. So when we heard essentially literally good luck if you're trying to do it, that couldn't stand. That couldn't be the way that XBallot was going to be open source. That was not going to cut it. So in the rewrite of the proposal, and it's in writing, and this is what can be voted on, the open sourcing must come with developer-friendly documentation, but more so, it needs to be a code base that the community will be able to contribute to and have transparency. In addition, there needs to be clear documentation around the voting strategies and the interface usage. So when it was essentially good luck for people trying to run this themselves, it was because the documentation wasn't there. It was hard for D13 to find what he was looking for in the way that the code base was laid out now. And having proper documentation needs to be there before tokens are released to the proposal. So I want to make that extremely clear that that original open sourcing as they had it is not the standard that they are held to at this point. I also wanted to add there that there is a requirement that there is uptime for the duration of testnet. And a lot of the great points that D13 brought up, that the DAO doesn't involve treasury management. The DAO currently only allows essentially the controller of the DAO to put votes in front of the community, clear shortcomings and clear things that don't necessarily make this a DAO and more like Algorand governance. They did say they are going to work on them and that it is their plan to integrate these, but that is not part of this proposal, the requirement to integrate those. And I believe the requested token amount, which is 55 million, reflects that. To go
Right.
to go further into the adoption of the standards, currently they are indexing using ASAs, and the plan and what needs to be done for this to be successful is that they transition to indexing ARC200 tokens. And if there are specific identities for DAOs, those will be stored in ARC72. So they will adopt smart contract standards for all aspects of operation for the platform. This includes fees collected for using the forum, for example. So this won't be using non-relevant to voice standards. This will have to adopt those standards and use them in the platform to receive tokens for this project. The 2 to 3 week timeline is, in my opinion, ambitious. I do know they can put a lot of work in when they need to, but I also think this might be a bit overzealous on their part. So I would expect it's going to take a month for this to appear, which would give, in my mind, roughly 2 months to be able to have 99.9% uptime, consistent uptime, and be able to get the community feedback around the platform, as well as give the community time to gauge the quality of their open source documentation. This is very much an all or nothing, and it's not getting a little piece just for putting the deliverable out there. It's the whole entire XBallot platform needs to be open source and developer friendly, as well as integrate the standards requested by Voy and have uptime for the duration of testnet to get their tokens. So there's not just a piece just for them posting it and an abandonment of it. It needs to be supported for the duration of Void testnet and needs to be very available so that the Void community will be able to benefit from it being open source. D13, if you have anything you'd like to add about maybe some other concerns you have per se, I hope I captured that properly there. I just, like, once again, thank you so much, D13. You really made this due diligence process work for us. We needed the technical expertise.
Yeah, my pleasure. No worries about that. The other thing to highlight is that there can only be one proposal active at a time, which will limit the usefulness of this significantly. And with regards to what happened with XBallot on Algorand, with respect to that, I am satisfied with the answer that they gave. Effectively, they were talking with Algorand Foundation or Algorand Ventures. I'm not sure. Let me check my notes. Right, they were
Host Foundation.
working with Shamir in December of 22 until June to 23. They would have been presenting to Algo Ventures, but then Shamir left. So they lost their champion on the Algorand Foundation side, and that caused some funding issues. The only red flag that I had there is that the cost was $100 USD per month. So it didn't seem a particularly steep amount to pay out of pocket in order to keep providing this and then look for more funding, but that's neither here nor there. And what I asked is, like, why will that not happen again? And the answer that I received that satisfied me is that they are now part of the Web3 scale program at the Google Cloud, which gives them 200,000 USD worth of credit for 2 years. And so they are migrating their infrastructure there. And at least infrastructure costs should not be something that will cause this to be retracted.
I think now would be a great time for community comments. What questions you have, please come up.
I don't know if I didn't read it in here or if they said anything to it. So I was looking from the perspective, would I use XBallot? And I was like, okay, where do I vote nowadays for stuff? For example, mostly in NFT communities, honestly. And then they facilitate like Discord bots. that track stuff, and then you can just vote, for example. There was like, okay, can I use this now for NFT communities? And the answer is no, because you can only register like one token that is getting tracked. And that makes it obviously not possible to use for NFT communities, because I mean, every NFT is its own token. But then also, okay, if you can only use one token, you can't use stuff like the token and, for example, LP tokens, which would be probably something token DAOs would like to use in some way, at least. So I was like, I might not be able to really use it. So I was wondering, did they say anything regarding plans to use more like one Acer, for example? I know so when I asked, all they said was like, yeah, it will come in the future. But yeah, it's still not here.
I believe that's covered by the integration of ARC-72 to allow a single application to be able to store multiple holders of an NFT. So that very valid concern, and that is what we believe the integration of ARC-72 will cover.
Me again. Something procedural. I think that both the proposal itself and our understanding of what would be delivered from it has changed significantly enough that I don't think it should be up to like Wilder, IRL, and myself to say yay or nay here. So I think we might want to consider like voting again as an entire council as the final yay or nay for this, because all the way up to the evaluations that the council voted for, I think we had a different understanding of what we're getting and what we're paying for and so on, right? I don't know what you feel about that.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important to note that like XBallot was launching on testnet regardless, from my understanding, and that they really need these testnet tokens to be granted basically in support of the additional ARC work that is not done already. So basically, the way I understand this proposal is that's just what they're asking for. Is the support to integrate those ARC standards into XBallot, which essentially will be there regardless. So
And to document.
Nobody gets paid till it's done, obviously.
And to document so it's usable by the open source community.
Right, yeah, and that was that I feel like was part of just clarifying some of the language that like they found adequate and we did not. Right, yeah, it seems to be cleared up. But yes, that was my original thought. It should be a different proposal, right? Because it's a different proposal, but it's just a very stripped down version of its former self, I suppose.
And I would say this is definitely going to second eval for the whole council to vote on and make your choice. Thank you for that lengthy DD proposal for listening to us. It was a lot of work to get this over the line, but we hope that this will be fruitful. I'll if I can transition us there. Maybe actually, Shanti, if you want to run over the DD volunteers, and I'll pick it up after.
Wait, real quick. Sorry, I'll be very quick. One of the things that I saw with this that I really want to applaud is I kind of commented about this last weekend, is that I really want to make sure that the governance committee aren't gatekeepers, but they are enablers. They're problem solvers. And we need to do more of this when we see a proposal that comes through that doesn't really make sense, rather than be like, oh, I told them what to do, but very much like, we're going to work with you to tell you exactly what needs to be done, because we need to actually help them be successful. We shouldn't be the like, oh, well, us versus them. And I think you guys did a great job with this. So thank you for that.
Okay, so we have actually 3 proposals that need DD volunteers, and they're right there on the agenda. One is a proposal for 2 token release administrative coordinator applicants, and then one extended node rewards, which is spearheaded by the directors. So
I have a question regarding these. I don't understand why there needs to be 2 DDs. If 10 people would apply, would we have to do 10 DDs?
I see what you mean here. I do think this would be an opportunity to condense both into a single due diligence process. And for additional transparency, Scotty and myself have already created a group chat where we've given the applicants both essentially templates for what these forms will look like, given them proposals to base them off of, and have already, if you will, have begun the interviewing process. So very valid, and I do think if it's multiple applicants for the same proposal, yes, that does make sense, and that should be, yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, also what Jay's saying. So I mean, in theory, we could vote yes for both of them, and then we would be like, so we have now 2 people approved. What do we do? It kind of doesn't make sense. I would think that we should have like a DD for both of them, and in general, probably something like if there would be another position like that, and there would have to be DD done, and for example, like even more people, like 10 or something, then a team should DD them, and they should be able to like request, for example, more funds for the DD because they have to look through multiple applications. But in general, it should be like done by the same persons, because I mean they can also give then a recommendation in the end. For example, if they have like, okay, there's a clear person, for example, or a clear application that stands out, it would be like, okay, we recommend the following application to be approved because of XYZ.
Yeah, +1 to that. I think it's a completely different process to hire someone for a single position. The evaluation that we as council members made is basically akin to the CV screening part of an HR process. And then I think the DD committee should be an interview committee, and all of the applicants for the same position should be handled by the same people. Otherwise, it's going to be nearly impossible to compare notes when you want to make a decision. At the very least, there should be the same people who will be like interviewing face to face.
I think this makes a lot of sense. We'll definitely also include this in the directors meeting to get something in writing around this, so it's clear the process to take. That being said, who would like to be the interviewer, or what? Maybe 2 people would like to be the interviewer, but would someone like to step up for this? I feel like I might be a little too close to this one, maybe to evaluate it, though. I do feel like I have some experience in this area, so I'm open to other people taking this one on. I will send messages to people who I think are up to this one, and we'll sort out the DD after the council meeting.
That boy Wilder.
The other one that's here is the extended node rewards, which I think we could get a volunteer for in the meeting. This one's a little maybe more straightforward of a DD process. Top of my mind is Lobo for this one, but I'm sure there's other people who might want to step up for this one and weigh in. But once again, if you don't step up in the meeting, I will be adding you in the forum.
I think it would be great to have a different perspective, maybe, because I did kind of like the updated ones, and maybe it would be good to have like someone else looking over it and having like maybe other ideas to approach it. So it's not like I'm doing now all the updated ones and now again, and I'm like the one not really deciding because I just gave out recommendations, but I think it would be good to have someone else also look at it.
Understood. I think Boonsen and Sarmian are 2 other great choices here who had some good feedback in there. evaluation. So look for those @ messages. Jay, you know, I mean, you can always step up when you want to. We're ready for your help. I'm going to
Yeah, Jay, don't be lazy.
I'm gonna move on to reviewing the and we're running long on time here. I'll try to go over this quickly for the extended and enhanced council incentives because it is an increase in two ways. This will be coming up for it's still in the community review phase, so we still have that week after next meeting. We'll go to first eval. So for the main changes between the two, the current format and this format is one, extending the incentives so they run to a maximum of July 1st, which I think overshoots the end of testnet, but I wanted to eliminate the need to do another one of these. It's relative where the rewards per week are capped. Right now, the rewards per week are 2.5 million. This proposal raises that cap to 3.5 million. Unused of the cap, as in both, are put into a float, and that float carries forward. Any unused funds are returned to the treasury, not distributed. So there's no, if, for example, only one due diligence happens in a week, it's not that 3.5 million goes there. They get allotted the amount, and the rest will go to be unused. As for the numbers, we decreased the amount for meeting attendance from it was at 100, we decreased it to 50. The amount for evaluations, sorry, to speak on the new numbers that I presented last week, we had them at 100, we decreased them to 50 for meeting attendance. For the submitted evaluations, we had them at 100, we decreased them to 75. And for the directors meeting, we had them at 150 and we decreased them to 125. So I think a lot of the valuable comments will be around the specific numbers here. We've justified these increases by relating them to what the council would have earned if we had implemented this relative reward structure from the beginning, instead of the system where people were getting hundreds of thousands or even millions in some case a week from contributing to the council. So this would lead to a emission of an additional 60 million tokens, or sorry, 55 million tokens, which would bring the total amount allotted to the council to, just pull up the numbers here. Links are at the bottom if you'd like to see the number breakdown. But this would bring up total emissions from the council from 123 to 163 and add an additional 4 months onto the council. So it's followed that same distribution amount on a monthly basis. That being said, my calculations have factored in less due diligences and have included in the sign-off process, which is related to the track roll. So I expect there to be a lot of comments around this. So please share in the forum, and this is still in community review. So now's the time to refine this before the first vote. Chris, did you have a question or just stretching?
Just stretching.
Okay.
I'm sore
Okay.
from working out. Ugh.
On that note as well, I mentioned it before, I recognize the bias here. It's us, in a way, voting for a raise. I also want to mention that the raise we are asking for is still under the initial proposal that we passed. Lobo?
Before Lobo starts, I recommend that this is actually like a vote that should wait until we implement the delegate. That way that this feels like it's more coming from the community rather than the individuals. And that way that the community does not agree with the raise, they can actually put their stake behind one of the delegates that doesn't agree with the raise.
I essentially wanted to say the same. So, so if anyone has seen that a fisherman proposed a DAO on Algorand, and I went through some of the comments, and that were like, what they wanted to see was like the people on the DAO essentially there. So kind of like here, the council shouldn't be the ones who vote for their pay, for what they get paid. So either we have like we use just like the delegated system, or we have like some way of node runners directly being able to vote. In this case, when it comes to stuff where we are that biased in a sense.
I think that makes sense. I'd also like to maybe leave this in the community review stage until we have that available, and not even first eval vote on this, and just refine it until that stage.
And maybe just an idea, because if we wait for example, for something like the delegation stuff, when do the funds now run out exactly?
April 1st.
April 1st, okay. So the question would be like, if we don't have anything till April 1st, would we be just getting, for example, no funds, or would we just vote on them ourselves, or would be for example, what I might prefer, be like, okay, in the future, the community will retroactively decide what we should have gotten, for example. So that it would be like, okay, when the voting tool is only ready like 1st of May, then it would be like, okay, we worked the whole April, and then depending on what the community decides on May 1st, we would be getting like retroactively paid, for example.
Based off the impact that you guys provide.
I recognize we're right at the end of the meeting. I have two messages for those out there. The first, we need smart contract staking to leave testnet and go to mainnet. So if you have the abilities, please look at that bounty, see if you can make a proposal for that. We already have some front runners, I'll call it, for the or leaders for the testnet to mainnet bridge, which is that burn and mint on the other side. This one is quite important because it's going to directly relate to when mainnet comes and how those tokens are handled. So this is vital. Please check this out and see if you can take this on. The second thing is to do with the NFT games. There's open source tooling involved. If you're interested in being a judge, like a hackathon judge, please step up, say something in the NFT games channel that you'd be interested in participating in the voting there and judging the great tools that these NFT communities are going to build. That's it. And what I didn't touch on this meeting, I'll make sure to include in the next.
Thanks, Wilder. And then Chris, we didn't get to your point. So next week.
Yeah, we did. We talked about it beforehand. Well,
Oh yeah, in the
Wilder-
beginning. I forgot. Wait, in the beginning. Okay, that's good. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you everyone. And I think next week we'll have a really small meeting, right?
Why?
Because it's East Denver.
So,
Are you showing up?
I mean, if I'm not flying,
Yeah, I'll probably be in a plane.
You are flying that day, that's why I'm asking. Okay, anyways, it could potentially be a very small meeting. But we will see you.
the
then.
important people still be here. Remember, the core team, we don't have a vote.
Yeah.
It might just be me here. Okay. Bye everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Have a great week. Bye bye.